Hello and welcome to Watch Releases Recap for the week of August 9th until August the 16th. Let's begin with Mido and their new Ocean Star Decompression Timer 1961 limited edition, now in a black PVD coated case. The very first Mido Decompression Timer was released in 1961. It's a cool watch with a cool dial. Of course, it has a decompression scale on the dial, which makes it very unique. Then in 2020, Mido has released a limited edition version tribute to the original from 1961, and it was released in a quantity of 1961 pieces. That watch was very popular, it sold out. Then a year later, Mido has released a different version with the blue bezel and a white dial. Now this version I actually owned myself, and it was also a limited edition of 1951 pieces. I did eventually sell this watch because I didn't like the all high polish finish on the case. I know it's a very small detail, but sometimes as watch enthusiasts we are very focused on small details, and for that reason the watch didn't really work for me. Then last year in 2023, Mido has released a GMT version of this watch with both blue and black bezels, and this version was not a limited edition, but it was a special edition. They didn't really disclose the number of watches that they're gonna make for this model. Now, probably that strategy didn't work that well, because now 2024 they're back to limited release, and once again they're making 1961 copies of this watch. Other than the PVD coating on the case and on the mesh strap, everything else about the watch is exactly the same as the previous versions. It still comes with the same case diameter, 40.5 millimeters by 13.4 millimeters in case height, including the domed sapphire crystal, which has a pretty pronounced dome over the bezel. This one is also powered by the same movement, the ETA CO7.621, which is essentially a modified ETA 2824 that has 80 hours of power reserve. It beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour or 3 Hertz, and it has 25 joules. As far as the look of the watch goes, I like it, but I don't love it. I think the stainless steel worked better for this watch. The PVD coating looks okay, but for some reason they decided to go with a shiny look instead of the matte look. I think an all-out matte bezel with a matte case would look better, but that's just my opinion. It is also PVD coated, not DLC coated, and usually PVD coating can scratch off, especially if you use this watch for its intended purposes as sort of this rugged diver. The price has also been slightly increased, I think, to almost $1,500, $1,480 to be exact, but you do get a couple of extra straps included in the package. You get a rubber strap, a leather strap, as well as that mesh bracelet. And even though the price is higher, in my opinion, it's still a fair deal. The new Citizen Promaster Tsuno Chrono Racer. Last year in 2023 was 50th anniversary of this legendary bullhead chronograph from Citizen that was nicknamed Tsuno. And for that special anniversary, Citizen has released a limited edition of 3,000 pieces that were all done with this sort of gold PVD coating. That watch didn't really appeal to me. I think the design was just overly busy and the size was a little bit too big. It worked for a lot of people, not for me personally. Now this year for 2024 there is a new version of this watch released, once again in a limited edition, but unlike the previous version, this one has a bit more conservative look, but it is still very busy. So first of all, it comes in a stainless steel case. It is a pretty big watch, measuring 43.3 millimeters in case diameter, and it's almost 15 millimeters in case height. Now, I'm not sure why this watch is so thick, because at 15 millimeters, you would assume it's an automatic chrono, but it's not. It's powered by Citizen's Eco Drive movement, which is a very good, solid movement, but it is a quartz movement that's not very thick, so I have no idea why this watch needs to be almost 15 millimeters in case height. Yes, it does come with 200 meters of water resistance, and it has a sapphire crystal, but it still is a pretty big chunk of stainless steel on your wrist. And I assume this watch would be a bit heavy. As far as the design of the watch goes, it is still very busy. The dial is overly busy because you do have an extra complication other than the chronograph. This watch also features an alarm, and there is actually sort of a button / a crown by the 5 o'clock position all the way at the bottom there to adjust the alarm. You also have the power reserve indicator on the dial, which of course complicates the overall look. And there is a very awkward placement of a date window. I've seen a date window at the 4:30 o'clock position and I hate it, but this one is even worse. It's at 1:30 o'clock position. What? Who thought this was a good idea? Just get rid of the date window or integrate it better. This is just lazy in my opinion. Now this watch is not exactly cheap. It's $1,200 US, which I think is all right, maybe a little bit on the expensive side, especially for the specs. I think if it didn't have this sort of bullhead design, it was just a standard spec Eco Drive Chrono, it would be about like what, $400 I think you can get them. So you're paying quite a big premium for the limited edition and for this sort of out-of-the-box design. If you're into it, hey, you have another option now. The new Union Glashütte Averin chronograph models. Back in 2008, Union Glashütte released this brand new model called Averin chronograph, and it kind of had a similar case design to a Monaco because of course all square case watches kind of give you that Monaco vibe. But looking at the dial, you could clearly say that it was something completely different. It had a very interesting way of reading a date. Now in 2024, there are 2 new versions of this chronograph available. And I guess Union Glashütte decided not only to just hint at Tag Heuer Monaco, but straight up just point at it. Because at first, looking from a distance at the pictures of this watch, I assumed it was a new version of Monaco. Watches like this to me personally are a little puzzling because I don't really see the difference between something like this and let's say a cheap Chinese version of the homage, because both are an homage, and yes, this is a much higher quality watch as opposed to, you know, a Chinese homage. But at the end of the day, they're both sort of performing the same task, reminding you of the original and also reminding you that this is not it. Maybe it's just me, but I don't really understand watches like this. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below. Now this one comes in a 41mm case diameter. It is also 41mm in case height. Of course, it's a square case. It's a bit of a thicker watch, measuring at 15.5mm in case height, because this one is powered by the caliber UNG 57.S2, which is essentially a modified Valjoux 7750. It's an automatic chronograph movement, beating at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It has 65 hours of power reserve and 27 joules. This will not be a limited edition watch. You will be able to buy it from Union Glashütte directly or from their ADs. And these watches are priced at 3,300 euro, which I think is quite a bit of money. At that point, why not just stretch it a little bit and buy the Tag Heuer? And I know Tag Heuer is quite a bit more expensive at the retail price level, but no one's paying retail prices for those watches. You can find them on gray market for a very similar price. So I really don't understand this release. The new Luminox Pacific Diver Automatic 3100 series collection. Luminox is a very interesting brand. I think they're most well known for their quartz diver watches. A lot of special forces and police forces are wearing and using these Luminox watches. Well, lately Luminox has been introducing some automatic models, like this new 31 series diver watch. Looking at the design of this watch, especially the blue one, it kind of looks like a bit of a mixture of Omega with the waves on the dial, a little bit of Breitling with the 12 and the 6 and these chunky indexes. It also has a little bit of Tag Heuer and a little bit of Formax with the angular case. It's sort of a weird mixture of a bunch of different designs, and I kind of like it. I don't think it's a bad looking watch. They're also somewhat reasonably sized, especially for a diver watch. 42mm case diameter, 13mm case height, but unfortunately they do wear quite a bit larger because of an awkward 24mm lug-to-lug distance. I don't understand why the lug-to-lug distance is 24mm. I think for a 42mm case, a 22mm lug opening would make more sense, but hey, I guess they know what they're doing. This diver, just like the Quartz brother, comes with 200 meters of water resistance, but unlike its Quartz brother, this one is powered by the Sellita SW200 automatic movement that beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it has 38 hours of power reserve. And the prices are somewhat reasonable. It's about $1,300 for the ones on the rubber strap, and if you want to step up to the bracelet, it's about $1,400 US, so it's okay price, a little bit on the pricier side as far as Luminox watches go. The new Decompression Orienta Chronograph. Now, I wanted to highlight this watch release for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is kind of rare to see a high-end Chinese watch, and from talking to a few watch enthusiasts and some watchmakers, I can tell that they're kind of enthusiastic about Chinese watch industry coming into their own and releasing more original designs and more high-end watches. This new company, Decompression, is making a debut and they're releasing this chronograph. Now, the second reason I wanted to highlight this watch is because I think it's a bit of a ripoff. So let's talk about it. First of all, the case, it's made out of platinum, 39.5mm case diameter. It's only 10.6mm in case height, and this one comes with 60 meters of water resistance. It of course features a sapphire crystal sandwich, and this one is powered by an interesting movement. It's a caliber NK-01, which is inspired by the architecture of Venus 175, but more specifically, I think this one is inspired by the Seagull ST1901, which is a very cheap movement that could be found in watches for around $300. Now, according to this article, there's not too much information about what exactly has been modified in this movement. The manufacturer says that they modified a few different parts, and clearly the movement has been hand finished and sort of decorated. But essentially it's a Seagull movement, and they want to charge 35,800 Swiss francs. Let me repeat that again, almost 36,000 Swiss francs for this watch. It's a limited edition to 12 pieces, and it is in a platinum case, but come on, 36 grand for a Seagull movement? Whew, that's just extreme. I don't know how popular this watch will be, and I wish them luck, but I think they need to try a little bit harder than just repurposing an old Seagull movement and trying to charge an arm and a leg for it. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos like this in the future, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what watch releases stood out to you. I always enjoy reading your comments. Thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you next time. Bye.